Ukrainians want to fight. If they want to fight, it's their country, it's being invaded. If China or Mexico or Canada invaded U.S. territory and some protracted war happened and there were Americans that really wanted to fight in that war, I don't know if it would be enough to say, well, Mexico might want to invade, but do we really want to lose American lives? Do we really care that much about South Texas? We can just give them that and it's okay. I think if the people have a desire to fight and they really want to, I think they should be empowered to do so, especially if they're fighting what's largely an ideological enemy of the United States, and I would say an enemy that's clearly morally in the wrong in this case, in terms of invading a sovereign state for no good reason and trying to take territory from them.
I agree with you that if it was a voluntary action by the people that are fighting on both sides, I would wholeheartedly agree with you. And I agree with the morality of it completely. My problem is that that's not what we have here. What we have here is both sides shanghaiing people, arresting them at airports, arresting them at checkpoints, border checkpoints, and dragging them back and throwing them into the meat grinder on both sides.
Okay, sir. Some people call you Destiny, other people call you...
Stephen.
Stephen, and where are we today, sir?
In beautiful, sunny Miami.
And we've never met, right?
No.
And you've never met him?
No.
Okay, so nobody knows anybody. Perfect. All right. The claim, the United States should support Ukraine for as long as Ukraine wants to fight. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, move. Okay. Tell him why you disagree. Tell Stephen.
I disagree because we should support them, I think, morally, for sure. But militarily, I think it is an absolute losing proposition. We know it's a losing proposition, and now we just don't know how to extract ourselves, which we've done many times in the past.
What do you mean by losing? How do you explain, what do you mean by that?
Unless the United States or one of the other powers that have any possibility of coming to bear literally join the battle directly, there is no chance on earth that Ukraine is going to overpower Russia, not even in defense.
I don't think there's no chance whatsoever. I think it's hard to know how much they could win the war because they haven't really been allowed to fight for as much as they can. I know that the F-16s are supposed to come online at the end of the year. Maybe that changes things. The only reason I'm not on strongly agree is there is a chance that it's an unwinnable conflict, even with them having full access to whatever arms people in the West want to ship them. But I think the payoff is too great that if you do manage to defeat Russia here, it puts a huge stop in these types of militaristic plans that they have. It sends a strong message to the world that the United States would support people like Ukraine or people like Taiwan, and it might discourage that type of imperialistic activity in the future. And I think that the idea on the downside that Russia be allowed to basically conduct warfare against sovereign states, take territory from them, and then walk away from that scot-free, I think is unacceptable.
It's funny that you said imperialism. How is us sending something like an F-16, which might as well be a battleship, to Ukraine in order to help them defeat somebody else? Not imperialism, not enforcing our desires on that region. It's absolutely imperialism if you look at it purely, number one. Number two, at this point, I believe that the armaments that we're giving them and the support that we're giving them, taking all the fraud out of the equation, if it's just pure, if it's just pure, militaristically, all we're doing is extending the amount of time we're grinding Ukrainians and Russians on this rock. I think that is all we are doing. That is my opinion.
I feel like imperialism has a tinge of, well, not a tinge of, I feel like imperialism is mostly defined by non-consent. So if your country invades another country, I think people would call that imperialism. If your country blows up another country, steals territory from another country, people would call that imperialism. I don't know if a country says, hey, can you send us weapons, and we send them weapons. I don't know if you would consider that imperialism. I don't think many people would, because they're consenting to it, they want it. It's their desire to participate in that. In terms of grinding Ukrainians, into the ground or grinding Russians into the ground, again, Ukrainians want to fight. If they want to fight, it's their country, it's being invaded. If China or Mexico or Canada invaded U.S. territory and some protracted war happened and there were Americans that really wanted to fight in that war, I don't know if it would be enough to say, well, Mexico might want to invade, but do we really want to lose American lives? Do we really care that much about South Texas? We can just give them that and it's okay. I think if the people have a desire to fight and they really want to, I think they should be empowered to do so, especially if they're fighting what's largely an ideological enemy of the United States, and I would say an enemy that's clearly morally in the wrong in this case, in terms of invading a sovereign state for no good reason and trying to take territory from them.
I agree with you that if it was a voluntary action by the people that are fighting on both sides, I would wholeheartedly agree with you. And I agree with the morality of it completely, which I opened with that. My problem is that that's not what we have here. What we have here is both sides shanghaiing people, arresting them at airports, arresting them at checkpoints, border checkpoints, and dragging them back and throwing them into the meat grinder on both sides. So if what you were talking about, a force trying to defend itself, the people actively, voluntarily trying to defend their territory, would be a completely different proposition. But that's not what I'm seeing. I'm seeing compelled warfare on both sides.
Okay, is there anything he said at all that would cause you to move to the slightly disagree? And if so, just move. You don't have to tell me what it is.
No.
Okay. Is there anything he said that would cause you to move to the slightly agree?
Not yet.
Okay. New claim. If Russia won the war in Ukraine, if Russia won, other European nations would be invaded. Move. Okay, you're staying there.
I think in 91 or 92, Russia already did some funny business in Moldova. I think in the east, there's a strip of land called Transnistria that's an autonomous region, just like I think Southwest Asia and I forget the name of the two territories in Georgia, basically, and what they're trying to do to the regions in the Donbass. So I feel like if Ukraine is allowed to fall, or at least if Ukraine is allowed to lose territory, I don't see what would stop Russia from pursuing similar aims in non-aligned states like they have in the past with Moldova, with Georgia, and with Ukraine.
Putin is very intelligent. If Russia invades a member of the EU or of NATO, either NATO immediately responds in force, or NATO or even the EU falls apart. And he knows that.
Are Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania members of NATO?
No.
Are you worried about Putin going after Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania?
He might try that. But when you say Europe, I think EU. So maybe that's my problem.
Oh. If Russia won against Ukraine, other nations would be invaded. Move. And the reason you're slightly disagreeing is because you're opening for the possibility of Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania.
Absolutely. But I'd still disagree nowhere near as vociferously as before, but only because it's gone so badly for Russia.
The war in Ukraine?
Yes.
So why do you disagree that you don't think Poland is under threat? You don't think...
No, I think if you're in NATO, I don't believe you're not going to get attacked, I don't think. I think you would get absolutely obliterated. So for Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, pretty sure those are 3 NATO states. I don't think, if you got invaded, I think Russia would get obliterated, I think. Here's 2 things that I would think about. So one is, I think it was correctly stated that the war in Ukraine has gone pretty terribly for Russia, and that's part of why they might be disincentivized to invade other countries. But I feel like that's an argument from my side, because I think a big reason why the war went so horribly in Ukraine is because of the massive support Ukraine got from the West. So because I feel like the arguments that you're using, I don't know if you personally would believe this, but the arguments that you're using would have been used a couple years ago to say we shouldn't support Ukraine at all, in which case Russia would have won probably far easier and far quicker and gotten far more territory, is one thing I would consider. And then a second thing that scares me is when I hear people defend the proposition that we shouldn't support Ukraine, all of the arguments that I hear, well, it could lead to World War III, it's not our country, you're causing other people to die. I feel like, scarily, all of those arguments could theoretically apply to NATO countries. That let's say you're somebody who says, well, if we fight in Ukraine, what if World War III happens and the whole world gets blown up? Well, let's say they decide to invade a NATO country tomorrow, that argument is still there. And now it's NATO, so it's even more scary that it could be a nuclear conflict. So, yeah.
Do you want to comment on that?
Well, yes, we have chosen to entangle ourselves politically and culturally with those members of that state. So yes, it would be a completely different thing. But we can't ignore history. History has Vietnam, Korea, a litany of situations where we have dug ourselves into holes that have never ended well. History has shown them all to be disasters. And this has every single earmark of those same conflicts.
Okay, new claim. The U.S. helping Ukraine protects Taiwan from China. The U.S. helping Ukraine protects Taiwan from China. Move. Tell him why you slightly agree.
I think that seeing how the United States commits itself to allies abroad, I think sends a strong signal to other people that might want to, I guess, like mess with those interests. So showing a really strong commitment to a partner like Ukraine or even a partner like Israel might demonstrate to China, like, hey, if you go to Taiwan, you're going to see the exact same thing, that you have a very stubborn America that's willing to send a lot of arms and that's willing to continue to support people that are in opposition to your, I guess, invasions. The only reason I'm just
Yeah, I'm just going to ask why. That sounds like you should be on agree with the reason you gave.
The only thing is because I'm not 100% confident on the factual background. So, for instance, it could be that Taiwan represents such a threat or such an opportunity for China that no amount of international dissuasion would keep them from invading. I don't have the full background there, so that it could be the case that you could show me a set of facts where it's like China really, really, really needs Taiwan, and it really doesn't matter what the U.S. does; they're going to try it no matter what. And in that case, maybe like, oh, okay, well, maybe it doesn't apply here. But
Okay.
2 points. One, by seeing how we've helped Ukraine, Taiwan sees us as more mealy-mouthed and strong. It hurts that proposition directly.
Oh, you mean, I just want to make sure I understand. So you mean because we haven't given them enough arms?
Yeah, we haven't gone in hard. We've tacitly given them money, and as he claimed, well, as he stated correctly, only up to a certain level of weapon systems, right? We haven't gone all the way. That's problem number one, the reason I'm all the way over here. The other one is we're already helping Taiwan. We have given Taiwan access to one of the most advanced and powerful weapon systems that are non-classified that we have, which is the Aegis Destroyer. There's no way we can help them anymore other than sending an army over there.
I agree on the first part. That's why we should allow Ukraine to fight all the way and give them as much as they need to fight. Because, the restricted stuff, the halfway, the indecision is worse than a bad decision, I think.
Can I pause you on that second?
Yeah.
That argument that he just made, does that, the initial claim that we started with is the U.S. should support Ukraine for as long as they want to fight.
Yes.
And you were saying, that, correct me if I'm wrong, I want to make sure I got this right. You were saying that because we didn't go all in on Ukraine, the Chinese will see that and be less disincentivized.
Correct.
So if your reasoning is correct, isn't then that a reason for why the U.S. should basically be going all in on Ukrainian aid?
No, Russia is not a global threat. China is. Russia's a speck on the mark.
Go to the neutral, please. Everybody. Russia is a global threat. Move. Okay. Pick up your board, please. Pick up your board. I want you to take a guess at what reason he has written down there. Which is best reason?
They have nukes.
Bro, fuck this game.
That-
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Jesus, I can't.
These guys are watching my shit. You must get my Twitter.
No, we're not. Wow. Okay. That's okay. So show them what you got.
It looks like a tree, but it's a bomb.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the only good argument.
Wow. You're gonna guess his number one reason for believing that.
I'm gonna say just generally like militarily or economically insignificant country.
The military are economically insignificant.
Partial.
Is it enough for you to say yes?
No.
Okay. Guess again.
They don't have the capability to conduct threatening warfare.
Is that the reason? It is. It is the reason. Can you show him, please?
They're incapable of projecting power beyond the region and resort to murder to do so. When you're murdering individuals, you have no power
Okay.
as a state.
Okay. Do me a favor. Go to put that down over there. Go to the neutral. China is more of a threat to the United States than Russia. Move. You can stay on the neutral if you want. China is more of a threat to the West than Russia. Move. Go back to the neutral. We're going to start with the same claim we started with. The United States should support Ukraine for as long as they want to fight. Move. And you started there and you're ending there. And you started there and you're ending there. What would you have to hear to move you? To move you this way?
A cohesive strategy for victory. Once again, I support the defense of Ukraine by the Ukrainians and the assistance of the Ukrainians. But the question was, should we continue at this point? And I don't believe we should continue at this point.
Okay. What would it take you to move to slightly agree?
Probably the same as him, but in the opposite. Like if somebody could demonstrate that like they've been fully unlocked, they've got access to all of our weapon systems, but it seems like they haven't been able to make any progress. People are dying. We're wasting money. They're wasting lives. And we're like, okay, well, at some point we need an off-ramp, or it's time to probably. Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to make a comment because I think this is really interesting. So you guys, you two, are absolutely on the same page in terms of what it would take. You're both agree. No, I mean you're both agreeing what the evidence is.
Yes, but I don't agree that if we give them every weapon system they want, or we have to give them, that they will prevail. They will not.
I think it's the exact opposite. I think we agree 100%, like morally.
Yeah.
I think we disagree on the empirics. Because my guess is going to be that if I were to say, if we give Ukraine one F-35, they could clear out the rest of Ukraine and Russians would all go home. I'm guessing you'd be in favor of that.
If there was an F-35.
I'm making a ridiculous claim, but let's say you give them one F-35 and that's not, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You would.
Yeah. If there was a cohesive, realistic strategy that had any semblance of succeeding put forward, I would change my mind.
Okay, so.
And then I would say, and then on my end, because I think all the F-16s come online and the training is done by, I think it's towards the end of this year. Let's say they have full access to those planes, and let's say like 75% of them get shot down in 2 months. Then I'd say, okay, well, probably time to extricate ourselves from here. Yeah.
So again, you're both basically agreeing with each other about what it would take.
No. No.
then I'm missing something.
He's saying in a hypothetical situation, if you could give me proof that sending X weapon system over there would turn the tide decisively against Russia, would I support giving them that weapon? Absolutely.
So you both would?
I would.
Okay, so you are on the same page.
But I don't think that exists.
Okay, but that's whether or not it accords with reality is irrelevant at the moment.
Okay,
You
I see
both
what you're saying.
you both
Yes.
have.
Yes.
You're both in agreement that you're looking at the outcome and the United States supplying it. You just don't think it's possible.
And the ends don't justify the means, and the means are grotesque.
Okay. So this is actually really encouraging to me that people agree on what it would take, right, Reed? Am I missing something? Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you.